when I say that kennyS is back, you have to realize this isn't hyperbole. I'm not jumping the gun. I'm not getting ahead of myself here, because that is what I and other people in CSGO have either done, mainly other people doing it, or had the temptation to do, which is that because kennyS, for people who don't know, basically for almost all of CSGO history was a very good AWPer, and consistently a very good AWPer, because he never had really bad periods or slumps in the first half of CSGO, the first 2/3 of CSGO. When he had his slump, going into Envious, when he joined Envious, it was so bizarre that everyone kind of thought in the back of their mind, right, this is only going to last a few weeks or a month, or he's going to get together in 2 months, because the guy had just never had slumps like other players did. He'd always been incredibly good. And so as a result, when he had flashback games in Envious, and when he had like a little run of a tournament, you'd think, right, he's back now finally, and people would say it, they'd proclaim it in the same way that they tend to do it when Markov has a big game and they go, oh, it's a throwback game. It's like 1.6 Markov, but then he comes back to earth. He has the big series against NIP at the major, but now he's back to just Markov, who plays a supportive style. So the difference is with kennyS especially, I was waiting. I'm not just going to give one series or one tournament and go, oh, kennyS is back. I'm waiting to see where he is and what consistency, because the key to kennyS being back is it has to be consistently great, and then it has to be some of the best AWPing in the whole world and the linchpin AWPer of your team. Now he's back at that level. So as I said, when CSGO began, kennyS was like the best AWPer or one of the top 2 or 3 AWPers in the world, and he maintained that status for literally, we're talking about, let's think, over 2.5 years, because all of Very Games, then he was kicked out of Very Games, then he went to LDLC and Clan Mystic, second, third best teams in France. He was still one of the best AWPers in the whole world, carrying those teams. Then he came back to Very Games in 2014 when they were Titan. He was amazing then. Obviously, at the end of the year, 2014, he went into God mode. Early 2015, he was in God mode. Even when he dropped off and had his original slump in 2015, around like March, April, he was still pretty good. Like, his numbers were still good. Just he wasn't having like insane take over the whole game and win it you personally type level performances. So he was having his issues then. The problem is when he went to Envious, that's what killed his game a little bit. And when it killed his game, he actually stopped practicing as much. It killed his confidence. He didn't have the confidence to tell players in his team, I want it now, I want it in this way, like as in the AWP. I want it to be set up around me. I want flashes going in for me so that I take all the kills. He didn't have that confidence anymore, so he just became another player. And the problem with being in Envious is they had all these skilled players, so he could get away with it. In fact, he even won a major doing this. I mean, he was a very good player at that one major. But in general, he won tournaments. He placed highly doing this style. And then when everyone else died off, now everyone's having issues, everyone's having problems, but he's not feeling that confidence himself. So how can he step forwards and say, give me everything, base everything around me? But he's started to return, and now he is the star of Envious. He's the stable force who's consistently going to be very good, who's going to top frag, and other people come in and join him. It's Happy one game, or it's NBK every now and then, or it's Apex with a flashback, crazy 25, 30 kill performance. And the key thing is we've got the numbers now. We've got the run of form. Basically, kennyS was having like the odd flashback tournament or the odd game earlier in the year, getting it together. Because, I mean, the big fool's gold had been the Game Show Global Esports Cup in February, because he had a super good tournament there, but it wasn't as sick teams. And then afterwards, his level went down again. So at E-League is where he really broke out again. They even said, we're trying to base the game more on kennyS. I think it was MBK said in an interview, we're trying to work it this way. It was when they were still hadn't brought Happy in as the leader again. They had Devil at the time. He had a really good E-League. And then you go into the major, Cologne, and the whole team did poorly there. They finished last place again at another major. But then every tournament after that, it's basically started with E-League, it dropped off for Cologne, and every tournament since then, it's been getting better and better, and he's playing at a very high level. So we had DreamHack Bucharest, really good performance. Star Series, actually that was before the Bucharest. Again, solid performance, really big numbers, good fragging, up all the time. Gfinity, he was one of the best players there. He only didn't win the MVP because Apex was so phenomenal at that one. Then he had the WESG Europe. Okay, that was the one tournament out of these ones I'm naming that's a little bit whack. But even then, they played Virtus Pro. They played some of the decent teams, not just purely scrubs. They also played Astralis. Then we obviously had EPL Season 4, where they made top 6, but they had to play NIP and they lost. So he's back to numerically, statistically, we're talking about back at sick numbers. Absolutely, in terms of stats, you can make a case he's the best AWPer in the world. I think, in general, from looking with the eye test and watching these tournaments, I think he already is the best AWPer in the world. The only person I think you can make a case for at the moment being better is actually Simple, but then Simple himself isn't like primarily AWPing. Like, he does use it a lot, but he's also going to switch it up with rifles, etc. So I think that will be an interesting battle. I want to see over the next few months, because Simple at the moment, in my opinion, is the best player in the world. So I want to see if Simple's also the best AWPer in the world. And Fallen's been very good still, but Fallen's had his drop-off tournaments, and he's had a slight dip in form. Not as bad as some of the other players in SK, but he's had the odd tournament that's dipped down a bit. So I think at the moment we're back in a world where kennyS is back as a star player, and he's maybe going to be back as the best AWPer in the world. I think that's a real discussion you can have again. And now Envious has got that solid star they didn't have all year long. So this is very exciting for the future, because obviously we've got a bunch of tournaments coming up. I mean, Envious, I think, is even playing at Northern Arena, so they're playing a gang of tournaments. Obviously they've got E-League coming up. And then on top of that, you've got to add in, kennyS is one of the most exciting, legendary players in CSGO. One of the original stars and one of the guys who consistently could dominate the game. So whenever someone like that is back and they're in form again, it's always good for the game. It's the same as if like Get Right's back in form, like he has been in the last couple of tournaments. It makes the game better because they're not just like good players. They're so good in a unique way. They are almost like mythological figures, you know, because they have certain flaws to them, they have certain strengths, and they're so unique in their style of playing. When you watch them play, they play their own style somehow in the same way year after year, and it just makes the game more entertaining, I think. So for me, kennyS right now is back.